Alright, and we are back up for the third time into the Netolic Raidcall Weekly America's Cup Grand Finals. Isurus Gaming versus Ice Gaming. Isurus is currently holding on to a 1-0 lead. So we'll see if they manage to actually take this out 2-0, or if Ice Gaming can pull it back and try to take it to a Game 3 and actually reclaim their title that they had in Week 3 from the people who beat them in Week 4. And we get a quick Shadow Demon band coming out, which is very, very interesting to me. Ice Gaming, a team that really doesn't like... We've seen them first ban the Shadow Demon before, although they usually take longer before they actually pick it out. And I'll try to get my co-guester in here as well.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Netolic.tv presentation. I'm Blaze. I'm here with Vicromon, bringing you guys a game between Isurus Esports and Ice Gaming. So we've already gone through the first game of this best-of-3 series, went the way of Isurus in the long run, but now we're going to see if Ice Gaming can bounce back or if it's going to be a 2-0 shutout. So, all that said and done, how's it going, Vicromon?
It's great. I did get to see about the second half of the first game, and it was interesting just how effectively Isurus managed to shut down Phantom Lancer. And the other thing I wanted to note, actually, Coddle and Shadow Demon getting taken out is interesting as well, but I quickly wanted to say, Blaze, if Isurus win, they'd be the first two-time champions, right, of this?
As far as I know, yeah, actually.
That's pretty exciting. And they'd have taken down Ice Gaming, becomes one-time champions and two-time finalists, if that happens, right?
Truth, truth. But yeah, so starting things off for the draft here, getting some interesting selections right off the board. With the Shadow Demon ban out, Isurus Gaming feels very comfortable picking up this Lifestealer and Rubik really early on, but it does see the Nyx Assassin to Ice Gaming, so they're going to have a lot of lane presence, whereas Lifestealer is going to have that potential to carry the game without having to worry about disables unless the Bane comes online or the Beastmaster.
Interesting choice of the puck. What's actually scary to me, if you're Ice Gaming, is that the Lifestealer actually is pretty good against most of the heroes that Ice Gaming have picked up so far. Nyx Assassin's strength is that if he's sort of set upon by any sort of hero, he can just pop the spiked Carapace and get away. But that really doesn't work against Lifestealer, who can rage right through your Impale, right through your spiked Carapace, and just sort of go for the throat immediately. Ditto Puck, none of Puck's abilities actually do anything against a magic immune character. So even if Isurus were taking Lifestealer for a variety of roles, I think they'll definitely position him as the #1 now.
But now we do get to see, once again, Shoko picking up that Windrunner. It's going to be a lot of fun here. Shoko is one of those players that can just find shackles at every odd opportunity you don't expect him to, so it's definitely something, an oddball, an oddity, I guess, but it's something to look out for because it can really make the plays happen effectively. Especially looking at against a Weaver. Weaver is one of those heroes that, if he's not hardcore disabled, is going to have just his run-of-the-mill, all running around the battlefield, just keeping his HP up with time-lapse, just Shikuchiing on through, so he's very fast, very active, and very controlling of where he wants to be. But Windrunner Shackle's 3.75 second duration. It's outrageous, and with that, Weaver could really, really find himself in some trouble if Shoko is on point.
I love the Windrunner pick, because obviously Weaver isn't going to be slowed too much by open wounds, but when a Shackle lands, that's going to be a dead Weaver more often than not, and that's going to be absolutely critical for them. What I'm kind of getting more and more concerned about what Ice Gaming have in store for this Lifestealer. They must have a pick in their pocket waiting for it, because I see they banned out the Bane, they banned out the Shadow Demon in the first phase, which is what I think part of what triggered the Lifestealer pick in the first place. So I wonder, what are they actually going to go for as a response to this Lifestealer, or are they just going to hope to play around it and maybe out-farm him?
The only really good hard counter that I can still think of is the Beastmaster.
There is the Beastmaster, that's true.
And we have seen them run it before, but with this Bounty Hunter pickup, I think that they're going to ignore it completely. They think that they can just make sure that they do enough physical damage with the Geminate attack, with the Janata, to make Lifestealer a non-issue. But that's a kind of a risky card to play, because if he gets an armlet early enough, and you cannot do anything to him, anything at all during that rage. He walked through Dream Coil, for crying out loud. I think that they're going to be in a really, really good position to move forward.
I like this Tidehunter pick as well. Isurus Gaming with a very old-school style lineup, except for the Lifestealer. There were days when Rubik, Windrunner, and Tidehunter were sort of locks in the metagame, but that was, I think, almost a year ago at this point. But I do like these picks. I think Tidehunter is a strong option against heroes like Puck. Even Weaver, it'll sort of help set up the Windrunner Shackles, help sort of catch him out and stun him down before he can actually pop that time-lapse. But I think Ice Gaming kind of drafted themselves into a corner here. They still had the option of something like a Beastmaster, even a Viper in the middle, but now Puck and Bounty Hunter both really necessitate solo lanes. Like, Puck's support is... I don't want to say it's bad, but it's not good. So, I mean, it's most likely going to have to be Puck up in the middle, and then Bounty Hunter as a solo hard. which I don't know what it leaves them in terms of handling the Lifestealer, or even really taking down most of the heroes on this team, because Bounty Hunter isn't that fantastic against Windrunner, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard matchup there. I mean, it really depends on the player as far as who's going to come out on top in that situation. But yeah, like you said, it's not. He's not going to be in a favorable circumstance one way or another there. And also, Puck, yeah, being an inconsequential support is going to have to rely on Nyx Assassin and Venomancer to cover those roles. And we actually see a Lion come out, which is very unorthodox one way or another. But the way that this is going to play out, I got to say that there's not that much as far as big team fight abilities. They have like a couple of AoE things, a Dream Coil to hold in place, Venomancer with the Poison Nova, but Weaver and Bounty Hunter are all about pickoffs. Nyx's Vendetta there, here and there, and one thing about the Tidehunter and trying to make sure they shut him down so he can't counter-initiate is the fact that despite having an Impale, despite having Carapace and the Waning Rift to kind of lock him down, he always has that Kraken Shell available, so you really can't burst him through those silences, through those stuns. You're going to eat the Ravage one way or another, and with Ice Gaming, most of their heroes have to be pretty close to make something happen.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very concerned about Ice Gaming's draft, actually. Not that they can't make hay out of it. I think they could definitely do well, especially if they sort of manage to get pickoffs with this. I mean, Bounty Hunter, Venomancer, Nyx Assassin. This is a pretty good ganking and sort of rooting around the map and killing people. And they don't... Isurus doesn't have that much in the way of things to sort of stop the Bounty Hunter, if he hits level 6 in a timely fashion, from getting around to doing a lot. If they do something like a Smoke the Venomancer and just run around with the Nyx, Vendetta, and the Bounty Hunter, they could actually sort of get this game out of control just by constantly picking off every hero besides the Lifestealer, and then just overwhelming the Lifestealer with Weaver farm in the mid to long term. Because we see that sometimes. Lifestealer will sort of just fall off and not quite be able to stand up to what the other team is putting out. But in this game, I think Isurus are very safe picking up something like a Midas on the Lifestealer and just making sure he does match that Weaver pound for pound.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. If he goes for a Midas early, if he gets some good free farm, which I feel that supports like the Rubik and the Lion, presumably a support Lion, can provide him. From there, you can kind of really accomplish a lot. You can make sure that you're going to get guaranteed farm. Even when you're shut down, you just move into the lane and at least get a quick burst of gold every single time that thing's off cooldown. So even in rough times, moving in for higher levels, get your Infest early up, and those kinds of things will set you up pretty nicely. But now that I was talking about that support line, I'm really not sure. Rubik is flexible in both the mid and the supportive role. Same thing with the Lion. But the Tidehunter is also on top of that. So it looks like right now we do see that Ifrit is going to be playing the Windrunner, and instead Shoko is going to be picking up that Tide. That is meaning that he intends to solo with it to some extent, but I'm just not sure where. On the off lane, on the mid lane, it's hard to say.
There's definitely a lot of options as far as laning goes with Isurus, and this is something I really like about their lineup, actually. I think there's so many viable ways to actually lane this. Rubik mid, Windrunner mid, Windrunner off lane, Tidehunter off lane, Tidehunter support, Rubik mid. They just have... It's tough to guess what they're actually going to do if you're Ice Gaming. Now, you and I will know in a second once we see what their item loadouts are, but that's our luxury. So let's introduce the teams real quick. For Isurus Gaming, we do have Ifrit up on the Windrunner. We've got Nova on the Lifestealer. At Fed of Soyon on the Rubik. Fallen will be on Lion, and it does look like a tri-lane of Lion, Rubik, Lifestealer in the bottom, and then the off lane will be played by Ha on the Tidehunter.
And it looks like Ifrit should be picking up the mid, presumably, under those circumstances. And we do see down on bottom that Daiko is going to be going for some early stats and just a single tango up on the Puck. We do have Benhaz, of course, on his Weaver, and Nyx Assassin picked up by Mystico here, and is going to have a potential to put out a lot of threat on the bottom lane. But beyond that, the only other individual, Zender, is heading on down there as well. We're going to actually maybe see a rumble in the jungle, Bloodlum crawling paths right off the bat. Ifrit could be looking to maybe skill up the Shackle Shot just to try to get some good disables off, poking back and forth here and there, but neither one willing to commit. And that could be a little bit dangerous, but it looks like they're just going to fall back.
Yeah. And Stun does get thrown out on the Lion, but I think this is not going to actually happen. If they had maybe landed a Gale very early, there was something that they could go for while Isurus was still a little spread out, but at this point it's a little too dangerous. They don't know if it's 5 or 4 down here. It is only 4 because the Tidehunter is going up towards the top. But Ice deciding to not actually go in there. But they will be running an aggressive tri-lane, so they do have the Weaver, Nyx, Veno over here, and then the Puck, as we sort of expected, in the middle with the Bounty Hunter on the solo safe.
So we're seeing a lot more of this 3 versus 3 back and forth kind of thing for this matchup here specifically. They're willing to go aggressive and starting things off.
Oh yeah, and Lifestealer, they're doing a lot of damage to Nyx already. Good stuns, but they might not be able to actually get him. Great timing on that Impale. He will probably get away, it looks like. Venomancer's in a bit of trouble now as well. Venomancer's much less likely. He's slower and won't be able to actually get out. But Rubik copping a lot of damage from Weaver now as well, so a very dangerous situation for everybody. Stuns coming back and forth, and the first blood will go out on the Rubik. Lifestealer also, we might get 2 right here. He's taking a ton of damage. He has that open wounds first rather than rage, and he is going to go down to the Weaver.
Wow, just really back and forth, showing the power of those Impales. Double Impales across the board from Mystico and Fallen alike. But as far as the end results,
there's... Windrunner taking a ton of damage in the middle because she doesn't have Windrun. She only had Power Shot, and Puck manages to pick her off with a couple more hits. It's that Power Shot. The fact that he tried to take that to win the bottom fight meant that he didn't have the Windrun to avoid any Puck damage. So Puck just jumps right on him, does the rest of the damage.
Well, there you go. And Puck, one of those heroes that you underestimate as far as damage output goes, especially when Waning Rift is unavailable, but just showing the opportunity where Daiko can really take an early lead here in that engagement, in that matchup. But beyond that, we do, on that bottom lane engagement is just really the Rubik with 0 base armor and picking up nothing to supplement that really made it so he was easiest to target 100%. Mitigating absolutely no physical damage is just a recipe for disaster in those kinds of early engagements.
Who, because of the early Geminate, is going to be just doing really substantially more physical damage than a lot of other heroes do at level 1. But yeah, that's a great point. So actually, Ice Gaming just launching with extremely killer intent in this game. 3 kills before the 1.5 minute mark. It'll be interesting to see if they manage to keep it up, because of course Venomancer are very mana hungry to keep landing those gales. But I mean, if they manage to get another pick off on these soft heroes like Lion and Rubik, they'll be way ahead to start out.
I feel like Rubik could easily be killed here, like 100%. If they started off with the Impale from Nyx and followed up with the Gale, yeah, they could easily bring
They're going to definitely throw out a Gale, so good. Oh, they actually missed the Gale, so he manages to walk away from this. They do lift up the Venomancer. They might pay dearly for this. A good
that
stun
Impale.
hitting 3. And then the Nyx is enough to finally pick them off. Rubik does cop a hit from Benhaz, and it does look like that's another kill for Weaver. But Nyx Assassin's going to walk away from this, Weaver's going to walk away from this, and they trade 1 for 1, which I think they're honestly more or less okay with. Nyx Assassin does cop a couple more hits from Lion, but not quite enough to actually kill him.
Yeah, that triple Earth Spike was actually really impressive there, and definitely set them up for that exchange kill at the kind of a little bit of vengeance back and forth. But yeah, I feel the Rubik is playing very aggressively given his circumstances. I mean, he's up against a team that has a Basilius. We're looking at 5 armor on the Venomancer, 6 on the Nyx, and he'll soon have Carapace available as well. And Rubik is just running on in there. When he can get stunned, get galed, he would have certainly died like from 100 to 0 without any assistance if the Gale did actually land. Fortunately for him, it didn't, but it's still going to at best give you a 1-for-1 exchange.
Right. We do have, I mean, at this point, I think it's safe to say that so far, Ice are winning 2 lanes. We do have Benhaz, he's halfway through level 3, with the Lifestealer only almost level 3. So, bottom lane, I think the aggressive Trellin has paid off so far. And then in the middle, Puck is handily defeating Windrunner. He's halfway through level 4. Windrunner is only a little bit of the way into level 4. The top lane, however, Tidehunter is currently out farming Bounty Hunter by only the slimmest of margins. But still, I think Tidehunter is the good news for Isurus at this point. He will hit his 6, definitely in a timely fashion. He might not keep the Bounty Hunter down, like the Bounty Hunter will also hit level 6. But that big teamfight AoE is going to be helpful. Actually, a bunch of damage coming out on Lion. The Gale does land, but they might have to walk away. They do mana burn him. Telekinesis is not going to do almost anything. Lion will get picked out by Weaver and Weaver's bugs. Rubik copping a lot of damage as well. Lifestealer trying to turn this around. He does open wounds on the next assassin, but it's just not enough damage. They have too much armor. That early Basilisk was absolutely critical for them, and Lifestealer are forced to sort of walk away from this. He's not in any danger, but both of his supports getting picked off again, and 6-1 the advantage for Ice.
As soon as you hit that Gale,
oh, and Windrunner actually cops a lot of damage as well, but he will live by a very slim margin. Good phase shift by Ifrit to dodge, sorry, by Daiko to dodge the actual shackle coming out.
Alright then. But yeah, every time you land that Venomancer Gale, it pretty much sets you up perfectly to just kind of fall through. If they're not under tower, they're going to get dropped, and at best you can hope for a deny in that situation. And there is some back and forth down on bottom, but more importantly, it's the room being contested, so that Daiko... awesome action there.
From Uptown, actually, Lion manages to kill the rune and prevent Puck from getting it. So Windrunner doesn't get the rune, but neither does Puck. It's sort of a scorched earth policy that both teams are employing in terms of the rune.
One thing I really feel that Isurus needs to be looking into on this bottom lane is getting a Sentry Ward down. Hardcore. They don't have any kind of detection right now, and Benhaz can just keep on using that Shikuchi. Now at rank 3, it's going to have an 8-second cooldown, and he can just spam it out like crazy, make himself effectively immune during that time period because they have very limited AoE abilities, and from there, just stay super mobile, have large damage output, and pretty much have no answer for it without any kind of detection.
Sure. The issue is that they have sentry wards, but they're on Rubik, who's actually rotated all the way to the top to try to get this kill on Bounty Hunter. Now, I'm not sure if they'll get this kill or not, but they certainly won't be putting down those sentry wards. Well, actually, they might try to use it to get that kill on the Bounty Hunter, but I feel like those would be better employed against the Weaver, actually. Bounty Hunter's already level 6, so it's not too late to gank him, but it's far less useful than if they had done it earlier. Rubik's gonna eat through this tree right here, come and plant a sentry ward, and they might dive it from there, actually. Oh, he gives it away with the auto attack, and I don't think they'll even get the courier. Oh, what a disaster there. Complete waste of time for the Rubik to actually rotate over.
Yeah, head out all that direction and then just right-clicks away. And now actually Matrix stalking him up. I would never expect this to be happening, but he is a level 6 Bounty Hunter against level 2 Rubik, who only has 1 armor at this stage.
He's trying to decide whether he wants to. He missed the original hit on it.
Puck's here.
Visibility ran out. Puck actually rotates, so that's going to be a lot of damage to Rubik. They pick him off trivially easily. I mean, he is only level 2. And a free track kill coming out of the fact that Rubik decided to rotate. All that time, they're not pressuring Benhaz. This Trallian bottom is going very, very, very well. And the Rubik ends up essentially wasting his time, still stuck at level 2.
Puck looks out with a rune up top and is going to be heading back towards mid to just continue to contest Ifrit. We're looking at the last hits here. We're actually seeing that Ifrit only has a 2 last hit advantage, and that's not really that substantial here with the fact that Puck has been involved in much more kill action, getting that solo kill early on and then following up with that assist with the Bounty Hunter and the track gold. That also applies to him. So Ifrit's been making more of an Daiko has been making more of an impact across the map and still keeping tabs and kind of matching as far as what's going on in the mid lane.
And Benhaz is actually, it looks like, going up towards his Lincoln Sphere. Almost certainly that's what that Ring of Health is going to be. What do you think of this pick?
Yeah, it's a pretty solid option. Going up against the Finger of Death, even up against the Shackle Shot, those are 2 abilities that you don't want landing when you're just trying to survive for a set period of time.
Weaver is being stalked. I think he doesn't quite know the danger he's in, but no, he walks away before the Rubik can actually rotate over. Rubik, where did he go?
Mid.
He ports mid. A big fight actually going on here. Windrunner and Rubik getting picked off in very, very short order. I actually thought there was going to be action on the bottom, but I was completely wrong. Rubik rotates and immediately cops a death for it. This Rubik is so low level that he's free pickings for anybody that wants to actually kill him.
Yeah, kind of just handing it over on a silver platter. His utility is minimal to none with his just rank 1 telekinesis and Fade Bolt running on through with 500 HP and the smallest amount of physical damage mitigation you can possibly get. So it just really is kind of putting him in a position where everywhere he goes, he's just bringing trouble. The Gale landed on Ifrit, and rank 1 Wind Run was not enough for him to get on out of there. And because they committed the Dream Coil, they not only got that kill, but also the one on the Rubik, who seems to be looking to just stack up hard camps at this point.
Yeah, very unfortunate. I mean, and he still has their one remaining sentry ward, so they won't be killing this Weaver anytime soon. Really, just an almost clinical performance from Ice here, just completely dismantling every aspect of Isurus' game plan, save the Tidehunter. The good thing remains that the Tidehunter is doing okay.
Yeah, an okay spot here between him and Matrix. He can do some damage back and forth, but with the Puck flanking right in.
Puck comes in, good rotation, and the silence is enough to get the kill. Tidehunter just caught a little bit out, and it's like they heard me. They were like, the one thing we haven't done yet is kill Tidehunter. Let's make sure we get that done.
And he doesn't have any points in Kraken Shell, so despite that advantage that I generally compare Magnus to Tidehunter more specifically, that Tidehunter has more range of initiation with that Ravage being more non-specific as far as those people clustering around. And along with that, with the Kraken Shell, he doesn't have to worry about disables as much, but by not putting at least 1 point inside Kraken Shell, he's not getting the benefit where he can dispel out and avoid things like Waning Rift Lockdown and the big stuns that come out from the Nyx Assassin long term. So I kind of feel that he's a bit remiss to pick that up in favor of just simple gush points.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I agree. I'm not sure if he should have not put any points in Kraken Shell. I think he was planning to stay in lane for a little longer and maybe get one or two more levels and then pick up the Kraken Shell and join team fights. But at this point, he's sort of mandated to rotate over because we do see a big jungle ganking party coming out again. The Nyx Assassin and the Venomancer, they will get the kill on this line trivially easily. A good Shackle Shot will lock the Nyx Assassin down and a good power shot in response to that. But Daiko jumping right on in for he lacks the mana and Nyx Assassin's going to cop a lot of damage from Lifestealer and Tidehunter. Finally, they get another kill on the board. A decent Ravage, but he misses everything. Nobody gets hit by the Ravage. Bounty Hunter still looking for a possible kill on the flip side. Probably not going to get it because Isurus have clumped up their entire team here. But he is actually on the hunt still. He's going to try to look for a kill, maybe. I'm not sure if he's actually going to get one. But actually, we'll go on the Lifestealer. He's going to put track up. A lot of damage getting thrown out, actually. Will Bounty Hunter actually continue to pursue this? It looks like he will. Lifestealer in a lot of trouble. Great Sentry
Ward
Ward placement, and they're going to respond with a Shackle Shot. Big damage getting thrown out of Bounty Hunter. He may pay with his life here. Good power shot. But Puck picks up the kill, jumping in, popping a Waning Rift. Will he actually make it out of this alive is the only question. He doesn't have the mana for another orb. He can phase shift once, but they're going to keep chasing him. Damage is getting thrown out by Windrunner, who doesn't have much as well. Misses the Shackle Shot. That might be critical. Puck actually might get out of here. Still not enough mana for that. He needs to switch to Int Treads, I think. Enough damage from Tidehunter to pick him off.
Yeah, Tide flanking on around, secured that there, but I gotta say Nova on the Lifestealer just walking right into the Illusory Orb's path. I mean, he pretty much just like clunked it head on. It was just really, really obvious with the tower there that they could see its trajectory. It's not that fast moving, and instead of just walking right on into it to set himself up for death, it's definitely not a thing that he should have let happen, and from there delaying a lot of his potential. Again, we were kind of talking about how Ice refused to draft to go up against Lifestealer, but if he's not finding farm, if he's sitting on treads for half the game, then there's really not a threat that they have to nullify through certain picks.
Lifestealer definitely does need some degree of farm. He needs that early armlet. He needs something more than what he has now. And he's definitely foregone the Midas that he could have gone to sort of stay up against the Weaver just because the bottom lane didn't go well enough for him to justify getting that Midas. But as a consequence, Weaver getting pretty close to his Lincolns, only about 800 gold off at this point. And what's his GPM look like? Over 400, so he's going to have that Lincolns quite quickly, which will make him fear Windrunner much, much less. Big gank coming out on Lifestealer, actually. A quick stun. He will have to infest into the creek. He's back to more or less full, and they're going to turn this red around. Nyx Assassin doesn't really have much in the way of mana. A lot of damage getting thrown out. Finger of Death, damage to the Lifestealer, that's enough to kill the Nyx Assassin. Weaver might look to pick something up here, but I'm not sure he actually can. Lion doesn't have much in the way of mana, but enough for a stun. But Weaver's going to continue chasing. He's going to keep trying to get this Lion, but Tidehunter... Wow, the Geminate enough to actually get the kill there. And he gets away from the Tidehunter very well-timed time lapse.
Yeah, that Swarm kept on stacking up pretty hardcore. It is rank 3, so its base attack time is pretty substantially low. And from there, it just keeps on stacking up its own attack damage in conjunction with the continuous armor reduct. So we do see a couple disconnects coming on out, but after a short pause, we'll be getting back on into the action. But yeah, just stacking up that negative armor on a hero like Lion who only has 2, it just amplifies the physical damage. So even with that auto attack going on through, the Gemini propagates with it, even if you time lapse away. So he got out to safety, and Lion just got a fistful of pain. So from there, Weaver able to get a nice solo kill and moving his gold per minute up now to 442. So just jumping 40 right there at the 12-minute mark. It's pretty substantial. And on top of that, comparing his experience per minute, he's still, despite being in the aggressive tri lane, is sitting pretty high and dry when you compare him to every other hero in Isurus gaming. Like, he is on top of even the Windrunner in this point in the game.
Definitely. I mean, at some point, the supports, and this was actually very effective, Venomancer and Nyx Assassin started rotating to generate kill opportunities elsewhere, and because Isurus are behind, they would have to rotate all of their heroes in response, whereas Ice felt comfortable taking 4v5s at that point and just allowing the Weaver to farm. And consequently, Weaver quite scary. I do actually like this the Swarm before Geminate build he's gone for, because the Swarm actually is surprisingly effective against heroes like Lion and Rubik, who are quite slow with their auto attacks, so they actually can't remove it that quickly. And you can get a lot of damage out with that, especially if you hit it on all 3 people on a tri-lane.
Absolutely, and it's very effective. It's definitely a build that we haven't seen as much recently, but it generally is more effective when it comes down to those full engages. You can poke a little bit more aggressively with Geminate and try to harass somebody back, but in this situation, when Weaver's going up against multiple opponents, it's generally your best bet, and I think it is going to be helping him out.
Coming out there. Are going to land the Shackle on Nyx Assassin. Very, very well done Shackle there. A lot of damage going through. Power Shot will come. Weaver coming in on the back, trying to he puts up his bugs, but I don't think they're going to do much. They will just retreat. Good survival from Nyx there. Actually does get away from that fight, no problem. He's vendetting around. Will they attempt to turn this around? Because there's 5 people from Isurus down here. It looks like they're just going to use Bounty Hunter to put a little more pressure on this tower. They won't get the kill here, I don't think. And Pug will almost certainly pick up the middle tower kill while Isurus are occupied here. The question is, what do you do now if you're Isurus? Do you actually push into this tower and fear the 5 vs 5, or do you feel comfortable with it? They do have the Tidehunter Ravage. It's still level 1, unfortunately, but if they manage to clip some people in it, that'll be effective. It looks like Ice may... It's hard to tell if they're actually going to rotate or just seed this tower. Bounty Hunter does go. He picks up a TP scroll, so he may come in a little bit later, because honestly, Isurus don't have much in the way of tower damage just yet. It's going to take a while to bring this tower down, especially with these Venomancer wards defending on it. So they actually pull back a little bit, and kind of a wasted opportunity for all 5 heroes here. I mean, they didn't get a kill, they haven't gotten the tower, and they're still sort of just dirtling around while the Bounty Hunter gets free XP in another lane.
Yeah, and Benno's just buying a little bit more time. Puck, with that blink dagger, is raring to go with a big waiting with Dream Coil, and it could be devastating if the Ravage doesn't come out perfectly.
Assassins. They may get the kill on this tower. Good timed fortified. Tidehunter walking in. He wants to pop that Ravage. He needs to pop that Ravage. He lands it on 4. Bounty Hunter is in. He's coming in. He gets actually Lion Sheeped immediately. Lifestealer Infest doesn't hit much in the way of anything. It does save him for a little bit, but the Lion's going to get taken down by Venomancer wards. Bounty Hunter continuing the chase. They've got all this speed from this track. Excellent timing from the Bounty Hunter. Rubik gets taken down by a combination of Puck and Nyx Assassin, and Tidehunter's in trouble too. This is turning into a rout. Tidehunter is tracked now. Windrunner actually gets locked down as well. She may get Venomancer, but a very, very well-timed magic wand. The Windrunner is she invisible? No, she just does get taken down. And it's a full team wipe in exchange for nothing on the part of Ice Gaming. Excellent, excellent counter initiation against that Tidehunter, even with the strong Ravage.
I feel that Dream Coil coming out from Daiko could have been a little bit better to clean that up a little more concisely, but in general, they had the chase to pursue. Ben Ha's so very quick on his feet, short cooldown impales, and like you said, the track movement speed, they can really, really stay on target there, and setting them up nicely. So many track kills. The gold graph is going to go insanely in their favor if they can take this tier 1 along with it, but Isurus not giving it up easily.
Big TP's in. Lifestealer are going to try to get something on the Puck. Puck, does he dodge the Kush? He does not, and he takes a lot of damage there. It is enough to bring him down to the form of the Anchor Smash and Lifestealer damage. So 1 kill on the flip side, but again, they teleport 4 people over, and all they get is really a Puck for their troubles. Did they actually get the tower kill, or did it get denied?
Rubik did get the kill on the tower on the tier 1 bottom, so they did finish that off just kind of out of luck. I mean, he only does 58 damage, so it wasn't something considerable, but it worked out for him in the end. Bounty flanking up. Again,
Bounty Hunter tracks him. He's going to do a lot of damage. Good defensive telekinesis, and Bounty Hunter actually lacks the mana to make much of this, so he's going to have to peel off, unfortunately.
Yeah, Janata does a lot of damage. He has the phase boots to pursue, but it just wasn't enough there if he couldn't follow up with anything beyond that. So, still has good vision on the enemy team, but doesn't want to head back in towards that mid lane, because although he has an invisibility rune, there is that Sentry Ward lockdown now.
Right. I think Isurus understand the urgency of their position, and so they're trying to respond by pushing as much as they can, getting into those big fights. Even if Tidehunter doesn't have his Ravage up quite yet, it will be up in 30 seconds, and he does have that Anchor Smash, which is underrated in terms of
ready to go, though.
Ooh, a Gale. Does it land? It does land on the Lion. Lion is very, very slowed. Ooh. A big Dream Coil coming out on 4. Tidehunter still doesn't have his ultimate, but Benhaz gets taken down with an excellent Shackle Shot. We talked about that Shackle Shot, and there it is.
Ooh, nice buyback.
Big Illusory Orb and a Waning Rift. Lifesteal taking a lot of damage. Tidehunter on the retreat. Bounty Hunter needs to throw out more tracks. He finally gets one up on the Tidehunter. They will chase Tidehunter down. Ifrit looks like he'll get away safely. Another huge Shackle Shot on 2 heroes. How do you even do that? But Benhaz is on the chase now. He's going to Shukachi again, and this might be the death of Ifrit as well. They get 3 kills so far. They're hunting for more. They're under the tier 2 tower now. Lots of damage getting thrown out on that Windrunner. Waning Rift, well timed, but he does Windrun. Will he actually make it back to safety? They're going to keep chasing, I think. They're just going to try to kill him, and that is just enough with the Bounty Hunter Shuriken.
Yeah, really, really effective team fight for them across the board. It did cost Weaver a buyback, but he was able to use a trick with the time-lapse to jump right back into the fight immediately and follow through with the damage he needed to. And the fact is, if he's soaking up that much damage by having a Lincoln Sphere and then coming right back up with full HP, he was able to absorb a lot of that damage. There was no Ravage in retaliation, so they really had that fight in the bag from that point forward. So I gotta say, good shackles from Ifrit twice over, but it just wasn't enough. The Dream Coil initiation from Puck was very, very overwhelming, keeping them in place. They couldn't follow up, and that's pretty much it. Since they pushed in and tried to force the issue before Tide had either Ravage or Mechanism available. So that was just a really, really bad time for them, and unfortunately, they definitely were made to pay for it.
Incredibly tragic timing for Isurus. I mean, they at the time that the fight began, they only had 15 seconds on Ravage, so they must have felt safe that, oh, these guys aren't going to jump immediately on us, and by the time they do, we will have that Ravage to counter-initiate. And they just didn't get it, and consequently, what could have been, if not an even fight, a fight they could have managed, especially with the excellent, excellent Shackle Shots that came out from Windrunner, turned into just a disaster, and then they ended up losing their entire team again. A big damage going on Nyx Assassin. A good Earth Spike, but it's not quite enough. Nyx Assassin actually surprisingly take a huge Ravage, enough to take down the Puck, and that's going to be actually critical. Bounty Hunter is going to have to run away from this. He's copping quite a bit of damage. He does get away, no problem. This tower will get taken down. Another kill for the Radiant on the towers. Benhaz runs in, immediately gets his Lincolns removed, but there's no actual detection left for them. Nyx Assassin sort of thinking he might get a kill, but it's not tremendously likely. And a good play by Isurus there, frankly. They do manage to get the tower kill. They pick up a kill on Puck, who is, I think, their earliest priority, just because the survivability if the phase shift isn't there is kind of low, and it's so huge in teamfights to land things like that Dream Coil. So basically, I think they got what they wanted there. Didn't give up that much. They did have to use a Ravage, but they get a kill in a tower.
Yeah, now that was just enough for Tidehunter to pick up his mechanism. It was actually really unfortunate for Pug jumping on in that he actually like happened to blink right in front of this Earth Spike as was going down, got tossed up in the air, bursted pretty hard, and Tide was able to follow up with that Ravage to just make sure he was taken completely out of the fight. Now up on top lane, we do see Fantasy trying to do a little bit of cheeky split push action, goes in the trees and just goes and relentlessly puts down Plague Wards, just saying, okay, if I can just keep on dropping these, poke away at the tower gradually, I can TP out to safety as necessary. But Mystico is pretty close at hand, and if he does catch wind of it...
Bounty Hunter feels confident. He does have the DD room. They're going to put down a bunch of Venom wards. This is going to be slow going, frankly, without Weaver, but 3 on top, they actually pick up and immediately destroy the next assassin. 4 on top, actually, my bad. But with the Tidehunter, the Lion, and the Lifestealer, that'll be another tower kill, so they are managing to efficiently take down towers, finally. That actually puts Isurus up 1 tower, and the Lifestealer does have his armlet now as well.
But little they know, Roche just drops down. They get the Weaver to have the Aegis available, so doesn't have to even worry about getting focus down that hardcore. Either way, it was actually a pretty good move up top for Rubik to be able to start things off with the telekinesis out of pretty much nowhere. I mean, there's no way you would expect from the northern trees for somebody to be able to flank in from that kind of position. Definitely, I would take coming.
The entirety of the opposing team. Does he even know that they're there? He is going to look to chase a little bit. No, he does peel off, and that's wise because they really don't know what lies beyond this area, which is the entirety of Isurus' team.
But yeah, so one thing to mention is that they're kind of falling behind on Sentry Wards. Lion has 1 more available for himself, but Fantasy has to quarry some up. He's actually going for what looks to be a Bloodstone long term, which I doubt he's going to be able to accomplish in anytime soon. But the point is he has a little bit more durability. They already have that. Actually, they don't have a drum. I was just thinking they did, but that was actually on the other side of things, getting picked up by the Bounty Hunter here. So either way, nice action from the Rubik. They do have more impale action with the steel that they got from the Nyx, so can just kind of keep on bouncing people up and down between Lion and the Nyx steel. But Weaver's raring to go. He has that Aegis that's going to be up for a long time, and that's a lot of HP to work with for this guy here. And he, of course, like we talked about, the Swarm is so great for team fights that they could really look to push in. The one thing they may or may not know about, though, is that Tidehunter's mechanism, which can swing things very much in their favor since Ice has opted not to pursue that.
The entirety of Ice converging on Lion, but I'm not sure they'll actually get him, and they might end up fighting right on top of the Sentry Ward. Dreamcoil does go out just for Lion, which is an interesting choice. Benha's sheeped, but it's not quite enough to actually stop the Lion from getting taken down.
Yeah, well, when you're 5v1, I don't think a Hex is going to be able to do too much to save you there. They committed the Dream Coil, like you said, but that cooldown will be up in 70 seconds, and it is a track kill, so that is gold for everybody that participated, everybody that was nearby, and that's just really, really giving that much more of a gold advantage, more so for Team Ice, Ice Gaming, because they've been kind of plateauing out a little bit. They found their opportunities here and there, but they're not getting every single pick they're looking for. But with that kill, they're going to keep that momentum rolling and make sure they're on top of things here, now that Bounty Hunter has that BKB.
Yeah, it's definitely true that Ice has not... The state of the game has not materially changed in 7 minutes or so. And given that Ice are playing so aggressively, that they're playing with such killing intent, it's not great for them for the game to just stay static. They want to continue getting ahead, they want to continue snowballing it out. Especially because Bounty Hunter, if he gets ahead, is such a snowballing hero. He does get you all that gold, and so wherever they can get a kill, they want to get a kill, and that's why they sort of committed the entire team to just killing a Lion there. Just to keep that rolling, just to keep the lead growing and growing.
Can be very effective, and I think the BKBs picked up by Matrix here is pretty much a little bit telling the story of what they need to be doing to make these fights happen. BKB against Ravage is so powerful, being able to negate that entire disable as long as Tide is unwilling to be patient enough to let your BKB expire. It really makes it so that you can fight more aggressively and extensively. And when you look at the other disables, the Hex, which will go up to 4 seconds in the long run, we'll see the Earth Spike, the Rubik, all these different things adding up together. That's a lot of disables.
Probably not, actually. Oh,
well,
Puck
he's
walking back into it. Goodness gracious, man. I'm
he has
really
face.
worried for
Like,
Geico here. He does get gushed. He does pop a Dream Coil, so that might save him. Big long-range Shackle. It does not latch, and he does have Hasterin, so he'll walk away from this. But scary play. Actually, oh my goodness, jumping right into them and blinking out. God, that's terrifying. I would never do
Most
any of those. And big hits coming out on Link's Assassin. He might get taken down before he can get out. Yes, the Gush is enough. Bounty Hunter in there, pops his BKB. He doesn't manage to get the kill online in retaliation. So a trade of a support for a support, but Bounty Hunter using up a rank of his BKB. The flip side, of course, is that they got more gold via him actually getting the track there. But, I don't know. This is some bold play. Puck jumping in with a Waning Rift. Weaver right there to take advantage of it. Tidehunter taking a lot of damage. He does pop the Ravage. He is force-staffed away. Benha's blinking something. Puck is taken down. And Benha's might go down as well. He does get the Aegis stolen. Not stolen, but taken down. Lifestealer comes in from the Gale. He does have Rage. He is tracked at this point. Venomancer ultimate on Windrunner, and did Lifestealer get affected by it? I can't exactly tell, but they are going to walk away from this. So, in the end, a 2-for-2 trade. Now, both of the two that Isurus lost were tracked, so again, Ice is going to get a little bit more gold from that, but if you're Ice, I feel like you want a little more from these engagements at this point. You're so ahead. They are going to keep chasing the Weaver, actually. Not quite enough. He will Shukachi away, and he's moving towards what I have to assume is going to be a MKB.
Yeah, the only thing that I can appreciate really for Ice Gaming there is that the Aegis would have been expiring in about 1 minute's time anyways, so they had to get that down one way or another, and that's really not much loss to them whatsoever. But yeah, they didn't get the other kills that they wanted to follow up on. Ifrit kind of playing the role of the taxi for the Nova Lifestealer to just be able to jump on out of there, but he's still so delayed in his farm. Looking at net worth, he's 7,300. He's only managed to acquire 89 last hits, and as far as kills and assists, 4, 4, and 3. So he is not doing too hot, and he really needs to get something big if he's going to be able to stay on top of things, or he's just going to be completely outclassed by Weaver's damage output. Benha's with that Demon Edge that propagates twice when you take into factor the Geminate attack, and from there, attack damage is going to be ridiculous moving on forward for Weaver.
Right. Now, considering Lifestealer's incredibly slow start, given the fact that they got dominated in the bottom lane, he's not done so bad, and he does have 7... His 7 kills plus assists is the majority of kills that Isurus has participated in. So he has gotten participation. He has done pretty well. But, honestly, Isurus Gaming, there are some nice things. They have really good vision, far, far better of Ice's situation than theirs. And it's critical for Isurus to have good vision because they need to know about these ganks before they happen. You can see that they... Ice Gaming sent most of their team up here to try to get a kill, but because of this amazing vision, there was just no chance that Isurus wouldn't get away from it.
Yeah, very, very good understanding of what the enemy's got going on, and that definitely helps them in the long run avoid gank initiation and just allow them to kind of turtle it up. Try to kind of, like you said before, make it so that they can be at a static point in the game. If they can make sure that things aren't happening to their, I guess, that are unfavorable to them, then they're going to be able to actually improve themselves and come out better for it. But I think that they do have to actually start forging ahead eventually. These towers are falling pretty quickly here, and they have to look for something that'll provide a little bit more potential. Maybe Rubik looking for a different steal than just the Impale that's been coming out from the Nyx. He could go for a Shukuchi from the Weaver, a track from the Bounty Hunter could be amazing for their team if they could make it work, and I definitely think that they need to be looking into those alternatives forms of income if they're going to be able to stay afloat as kind of the tide rushes over.
Track steal definitely would be useful. Speaking of the tide rushing over, Tide does just finish his Blink Dagger, so that's going to be very useful for Isurus to sort of take the fight to Ice. I think they definitely didn't want to be the ones initiating a team fight until they sort of had that Blink Dagger Tide. But the ability to just jump in there and get a big Ravage might be extremely useful for them, especially if they can get it before sort of Puck jumps in and Dream Coils them all.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the fights that they've been able to accomplish.
There is a Sentry Ward here. They do see him, and he takes a lot of damage already. He's lifted up by the Rubik. Good telekinesis timing, but unfortunately, time lapses and Shukachi's away before the rest of the team goes over. And Tidehunter, great Blink and Ravage. They have another Sentry Ward here, but they still won't see him. They do manage to get... Wow, what an amazing Impale. Saves the Bounty Hunter. How is he walking away from this? That was just an incredible Impale from Nyx. He will pay with his life, but oh my goodness. How good of a support do you have to be to save both of your carries from death with just one extremely well-placed stun?
Yeah, that was extremely effective there, and they committed so much. Isurus really needed that kill. They got a perfect timing there. They made sure that Rubik started off with his Fade or Telekinesis just so that they could get the big, long-duration Shackle up against the tree there. It worked out very nicely, but Time-Lapse was effective enough, despite losing his Lincolns quickly, to be able to set him up back to full HP. And again, Tide came in with that Blink, did not able to get much out of it with Nyx Assassin just peeling them off, costing him his own life, but with Ben Haas playing as aggressively as he was, they are going to be very happy about that being the only death. in that circumstance there. Puck picking up a Necro 2, I believe, so moving in closer so that they can, I guess the detection won't be very valuable there. I mean, there are a lot of Sentry Wards to deward, I suppose, but beyond
it's
that...
mostly going to be push. Nobody's going to use Necro Creeps to deward, because then you don't have them when you actually need them, unfortunately. I gotta say, I don't love this Linken's from Weaver still, because all that's happening in every single one of these fights is Lion is getting it away with Mana Drain, which, by the way, props to Lion. That's a very, very smart play to use the Mana Drain to pop the Linken's, but that's what's happened in almost every single fight. It's rare that Linken's has actually blocked something useful.
Truth. Yeah, that is one major factor there, and if they put a little bit more pressure out on the Lion and try to disable him up, silence him down, I think that they could pick him off before that becomes an issue, but I don't think it's a priority for Ice. Right now, they just want to make sure they're dealing the damage really quickly. With an MKB up on Weaver and the Nyx Assassin hovering close to level 11, they can go in so aggressively and deal tons of damage, but generally speaking, their game could going to be fruitless. It's going to allow Ifrit, with the vision they had through Sentries and Observers...
Goodness gracious. I thought he'd get away, but he might not actually. He might actually just feed a kill to them right here. Good Force Staff, and now they actually might be in a little trouble because all of Isurus is rotating around to try to defend. They don't actually decide to go in for kills. They just go to defend Ifrit. Again, great warding. The warding from Isurus is just amazing. They completely spotted out that incoming gank. Puck jumping in, a big Dream Coil, but it's just on Lion. They will probably get the Lion kill, but that might be all they get. Bounty Hunter does manage to pick up the kill there. Nyx Assassin again with a big Impale. Tidehunter taking a lot of damage. He actually gets taken down. Benha's using a time-lapse to just survive out of this. Rubik is going to run away by using his invisibility that he stole. And that might be the end of this fight. Again, Puck with a huge blink. He gets the Waning Rift. He gets the... And another Venomancer ultimate right on top of it. Windrunner taking a lot of damage. Lifestealer trying to chase out, but he just doesn't have the movement speed. Rubik running around. He is actually going to cop a death as well. So 4 people down. They lose a gem. Lifestealer in the back here, unable to do anything more. He's completely out of life. He's got to steal some more or get the heck out, in my opinion. Track coming out on him. His Bounty Hunter should probably not chase this. He cops quite a bit of damage to the tower. But Weaver is going to just dive right in. This might be a lot of damage to the Lifestealer. Will he actually escape? Swarm goes out first. We might get another Shooky. We don't. Oh my goodness, Lifestealer almost dying. He has to use the Armlet just to live through the swarm damage. And this is another tower for Ice Gaming as well, so definitely taking their dominant position and really extending it. Another Gale out on the Venomancer. Will they attempt to go through this? Now that he's thrown the stun out, they definitely will. Weaver running right in. Tidehunter does have
Nova so low.
He pops the Ravage, but not early enough to save the Lifestealer. Benha's taking a lot of damage due to this crowd control, but he is probably going to take down Lion. Another track kill will... There we go. And he's going to try to continue with this Tidehunter. He uses the time-lapse and doesn't get him that much life back. And Bounty Hunter probably has to back out at this point. A big lift on Venomancer will be enough to take him down. So an extremely chaotic fight, but again, Weaver survives, Lifestealer dies, and they lose a tower for their trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Lifestealer just walked on in there with like only 200 some odd health, and he just kind of walked around like he owned the place. And yeah, there was a Ravage, but first of all, it came out too short, and second of all, it didn't take but like 3 auto attacks for Benhavs to just completely do away with him. So that was just them could really kind of run them roughshod and showing how they can control the field of battle, especially when that Puck initiates on the Lion. I was just talking about that, how if the Lion can't even cast a single spell, if he can't put that Linken's on cooldown, we saw the Shackle instead fly towards Benhaz, gets canceled out, and just using the time-lapse for HP, he was able to just keep on right-clicking the entire fight, adding so much damage on top of everything there, and he's just going to be able to keep on doing that here. Going for the Reaver right now, a Heart of Tarrasque is going to set it up so he doesn't even have to necessarily rely on the Linken Sphere anymore, but it's been so effective for Ice Gaming in those exchanges, and we see the gold graph plummet down to 14k advantage for Ice because that track just keeps on coming into play, setting up Puck for the Necronomicon, setting up Nyx Assassin for the Drums of Endurance, which I guess is redundant to some extent, but Bounty's been using it pretty proactively either way, and now has a Desolator on top of that.
Interesting actually get the second set of drums. They just want the buff, I guess. Dream Coil getting thrown out. Windrunner already copying the stun. Lion staying in. He actually dodges the Venomous Gale, but it's not going to be enough. He is going to get taken down by Benhaz once again, improving his record to 12-1. And they're just going to continue chasing. Their movement speed is so superior. Rubik taking a lot of damage. A good response with the Fade Bolt and the Telekinesis, but he is going to get taken down again by Benhaz. Weaver just everywhere he needs to be to get these auto attacks in. And Tidehunter in a bit of trouble as well. They will just cause him to retreat up. They do have those Necro 3s at this point. Big Shackle, but just gets the Nyx Assassin. Does not manage to actually land on the Weaver. Not that Linken's wouldn't have blocked it anyway. Any fight in which they don't manage to pop the Linken's of the Weaver and get a Shackle shot on top of it is a fight in which Weaver's just going to completely dominate their low HP forms.
Exactly, 100%. And fortunately for Tide, he was able to pick up a gem despite the Rubik dropping it on the ground to their feet. But I guess it's just really not a focus for Ice Gaming. They are playing Invis Heroes, but it doesn't seem like they even need to worry about getting detected out. They fight as 5. They're not going for little pickoffs here and there. And so instead of despite having 3 Invis Heroes, they're really just running in and dishing out the damage really, really quickly, playing assassins that don't necessarily have to hide in the shadows. They can go in and just on the front end of things, they have BKBs that last at least 6 seconds, and they're really, really showing how fearless and how aggressive they can be in a full fight. Now we see the Heart finished up on the Weaver, and going on in to try to DPS Roche.
Oh, I think they'll get Roche no problem. Isurus Gaming, even if they know, which I'm not sure they do because all their wards have expired, there's not much they can do about this. This is going to be an Aegis. Will they put it on Bounty Hunter? I think they... Oh, no, I guess they do put it on Weaver. Bounty Hunter selling off his bottle, picking up a Demon Edge, so it looks like he may move towards... I guess MKB as well?
It's hard to say. I mean, there's not really any evasion to counteract other than the Windrunner.
Windrunner. Yeah.
That's really the only thing that's to worry about there. And I honestly don't think she's that much of a priority. So, in my personal opinion, they don't need to go for an MKB. But you got a Demon Edge, you want front-loaded burst damage. I mean, it's going to be appropriate one way or another. So it helps him out quite a bit. His Janata's going to hit like a truck now with a Desolator and that plus 46 from the Demon Edge. Absolutely. It's going to be crazy. But as far as his viable options, he could just go... I guess for the MKB, there's no really a better explanation for it because
Assassin manages to Vendetta at a very, very smart time. Otherwise, he was going to face the full wrath of Isurus Gaming. I don't know, Blaze. I see your point, but I actually really like the MKB on Bounty Hunter if he does go towards it, and I'll tell you why. I'm a big, big fan of just playing incredibly safe when you're ahead. You do want to get more ahead, but you want to play safe with your choices. I don't like when people are just like, oh, I'll just make Dagon or something to win more. I think the MKB is good because it's not that Windrunner is such a huge threat. It's that if they lose a team fight, it's probably because Windrunner happened. It's probably because there was a big shackle, it landed on Weaver, Windrunner never died and got all our power shots out and got multiple double hero shackles. That's really the only way that they lose a fight at this point. There's no other scenario in which they just get blown out. And so responding to that by making sure that they can trivially kill that Windrunner with the Bounty Hunter Weaver combo means that they just don't need to worry about that. And if that's the only thing they need to worry about, then they have no worries, right?
Truth. Yeah, I mean, that definitely, I agree with the logic behind that there, absolutely. It definitely applies to a point where they can make sure that there's not going to be any little, pages left unturned. There's going to not have anything to have to worry about here. But
big rotation around here. Big rotation with Ice Gaming, and actually they're all up in Isurus already. A big Ravage, and Rubik might actually walk away from this unscathed. Linefinger of Death gets one out, but a huge Venomancer ultimate hits almost everybody on Isurus Gaming. Ice are low, but they're not quite low enough to kill. Windrunner with a huge power shot. Nick's still alive. He does get taken down. They finally stun Ben Haas. They pop his Lincolns with a man burn, but he will get a lion kill. Probably more. He just time-lapses back to get a little more HP. Windrunner in trouble already. Puck jumping right onto her. A huge telekinesis from Uptown by Rubik. And Shackle as well, so they might not get the last few heroes. Venomancer Gale will not land. Lifestealer's in here, and they do manage to kill him off. And Venomancer is not going to take it down, and Lifestealer just overextended beyond godlike streak for Weaver. And in the end, only Windrunner left alive to sort of watch his team be in complete ruins. Lincolns does block that Shackle shot as well, which may be his last hope of actually trying to get a kill.
Yeah, and the last thing was Rubik sitting there, just standing there with 100 HP, threw out a Fade Bolt, and then like I could see it in my mind in slow motion how it just like he just stands there as the orb flies right in his face there to knock him down as well. So another kill, locked down, life still in the grave, Rubik for another 13, and they're gonna be able to take this tier 3 on top of the already completely deconstructed top racks.
Venomancer's taking a lot of damage. He throws out Gale. Lion is chain stunning him. They probably will kill him. He does that. They do put Pipe up. I don't think this Venomancer is going to live, but I don't think it matters either. Their Raxes are getting taken down. They're getting marauded by this Necronomicon combo with the immense damage from the Weaver. And Venomancer survives, and the fact that the Isurus needed to rotate back means that this Tide Hunter will probably go down as well. Copping a lot of damage already. A huge Shackle shot. Manages to lock down Puck. Puck will die. Good telekinesis, enough to get Puck, but Weaver's still alive. This is going to be a problem. He just gets the Raxes and he'll probably walk out. Manages to narrowly dodge that Earth Spike from Lion. That was maybe a misaimed Earth Spike. And Shackle will not latch, so that was maybe their last shot. So Weaver once again walking away. Good kill on the Puck, but you're so behind as Isurus now. I don't know that they have a lot of options. They're down 4 Raxes. It's a very, very tough situation to come back from. And Lifestealer, he has built his Basher, but he's just not really getting the time on target that I feel like he'd like.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally Basher's picked up to counteract physical, like BKB carriers, but you're not worried about the Bounty Hunter's sustained damage. You're worried about him doing a quick hit with Janata and like two-shotting your support. So getting the Basher early and relying on that RNG when he doesn't have attack speed to support it, Treads, Armlet, Rage is all he's got. It just seems like a non-prudent choice compared to turning that Javelin into an MKB, because Benhaz is moving towards that Butterfly. He walked away with 5,000 gold out of that engagement. He's like, screw it. I have enough that I can just easily pick up in a few hundred. Finish out this Butterfly and 35% evasion on top of a 2,700 HP Weaver with time lapse and Aegis.
Terrifying. Absolutely.
I mean, it's unkillable. It really is.
I mean, not to mention, he's still only for one more minute, but he still has Aegis, for freak's sake. Like, Butterfly, Heart, MKB, Lincoln's, Aegis. It's just, if you're staring down the barrel of that, I don't know, I'd be just terrified.
Mm-hmm. And he can't take that many hits himself. He's only sitting at 1,700, and the armor is all right, but it's just really neither here nor there as far as making sure he's going to stay up.
Rubik gets caught way out of position. That's going to be a lot of damage getting thrown on him. Weaver almost manages to kill the Rubik. Swarm's still up on him. Lots of damage actually on the Weaver, and he continues to walk in just to try to get that Rubik kill. He's trying to waste his Aegis, but he just can't do it no matter how much he tries. Lion already down. Weaver continuing to chase. He will probably get this Lifestealer as well. Good Shackle from the Windrunner. This might save Lifestealer, but it's academic at this point. Lifestealer's going to try his best, but it's not even enough to get the Nyx Assassin. Weaver's just way, way, way too big to handle at this point. There's almost nothing that Isurus can actually do. I think they're actually almost lose this tier 3 tower, and once they lose their last set of racks, I would expect a GG at any second.
Yep, I mean, that is the sign for Mega Creeps there, and from there, they don't really have anything that can counteract that. So good game. Go Next comes on through, and Isurus Gaming, despite having taken game 1, do get locked down from Ice. This pressure, this draft that I just didn't see working, changed really, really dynamic. Like, it was odd, but the fact of Nyx Assassin and Venomancer having so much control on that bottom lane to the point that the Rubik had died, how many, it adds up so quickly. Oh, yeah. But we're actually looking
at least 3 times early on.
And now we're looking at a 10 death Weaver, a 12 death Lion. They picked up the supports over and over and over again, and despite redundancies in the draft through the Invis heroes, despite the fact that they didn't have any counter for Lifestealer, it wasn't a concern. They just got more overwhelming gold and better kills in exchange. The Tidehunter Ravage, I gotta say, one big thing that kind of irked me from the beginning was Tidehunter hit level 6, and he did absolutely nothing to help his lane that was getting devastated on, just completely annihilated. Instead, he was kind of sitting there farming up to level 8, level 9 before he even decided to go for a rotate, which I don't think was of his own volition. So in that kind of circumstance, I feel that if they had gone for a more team fight using their disable utility that they possessed where Ice did not, to go on in, then they might have been in a better spot. But as soon as Puck picked up that blink, he used it. He nailed it every single time. Dream Coils and Wanings all across the board, and they've got kills after kills after kills with it. And once you start running from this team, there's no escape. And that's, of course, what kept on happening time and time again as Isurus Gaming tried to flee for their lives. Just didn't work out.
Just an incredibly pristine clinical game played out by Ice here, and they just handily outplayed Isurus. You and I were both quite skeptical of their draft, but it's another thing where you really remember that for all that drafting matters, and for all that you can sort of set up your counter picks and try to make sure that each of your heroes are, in theory, good against the other team's heroes, what it really comes down to is that if your execution is perfect, if you win every lane, or you draw one lane as they did and win 2 handily, it's going to be tough for the other team to deal with you, even if on paper they have certain advantages. Isurus just never got to the point where that Lifestealer was difficult to deal with. I said, okay, we know that we don't have an explicit counter to your Lifestealer, so we'll just lane 3 vs 3 and trust the fact that we're so good that we'll just outplay you consistently. And especially with those just incredibly clever item pickups. I just thought at each stage they picked up exactly what they needed to. Even as something as simple as a Ring of Basilius. That Ring of Basilius was incredibly consequential in that lane, because it meant that the Lifestealer couldn't do any damage on the attack from the safe lane to the opposing tri-lane, whereas on the other hand, Rubik had almost no armor and didn't manage to get any, and consequently he just got picked off again and again and again, and that sort of set up the win of the tri-lane. Puck played extremely well, extremely smart in the middle, taking advantage of that early power shot from, instead of Windrun, that Windrunner managed to level in the middle lane, and as soon as Bounty Hunter hit 6, he started rotating just a little bit earlier than Tidehunter did. They failed to gank him, and at that point, just things sort of started falling apart for them.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to be it, pretty much. Ice is going to be proceeding on into Game 3 up against Isurus, and they're now tied up 1-1, so we'll have to see exactly how this best of 3 series plays on out. But for the finals, for the cash prize, it comes down to one final game.
I think the lobby's up, so just hop on in when you're ready.
Yep, jumping on into it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll play maybe one song, and the game should be raring to go by that point in time. But thanks again for tuning in. This has been Blaze and Vikermond, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Alright, folks, and that was a pretty exciting game. I'm really glad this is going to a Game 3. Quite a bit of a little tournament rivalry developing on this in this situation between Isurus and Ice. So, pick in a row, we do actually go to a Game 3, which is I'm very, very excited about. Should be interesting to see who actually manages to pick it up. We are going to get started very, very quickly. So, we're going to a decisive game in the Grand Finals. In just 1 second. At any rate, so let's talk a little bit more about that game, honestly. I really did think, so the thing about Lifestealer is that he's very, very active right from an early stage. Like, you don't need that much farm to make him effective. But the amount of farm you need to make him effective is not 0. You do want that early armlet. You do want to hit some early items in a fairly timely fashion. And if you don't manage to do that, then it's a tough situation, especially when Weaver is sort of out-farming you and out-leveling you in your safe lane. So it really comes down to the one lane that Ice played incredibly well on, and it's the lane they needed to play well in, was that aggressive tri lane. You got your Weaver, Rubik, Nyx Assassin against, Weaver, Lord Almighty, Weaver, Nyx Assassin, and Venomancer, who's not used that frequently these days. But you've got that against Rubik, Lion, who's, in this case, at the very, very early levels, comparable to Nyx Assassin, just because he's also got that good line stun. He's got another stun on top of it, so you can